Welcome back, and so let's make progress in our conversation now. And there's no better time than now, when there are economic pressures, when tempers flare, when human rights is on the threatened, for communities to band together. And which category of people help communities band together? They are the social workers, and that's why we're having this conversation on this day, the World Social Work Day. And joining us on the program to have this one and help us understand the importance of social work in all over the world now, not just in Nigeria, we have right here in our Lagos studio, Miss Osayi Alile. She's right here in our Lagos studio, and she is the Chief Executive Officer of the Aspire Coronation Trust Act Foundation and a prominent leader in the African social sector work. We also have right beside her Mr. Michael Ajayi, the Country Director of Enactus Nigeria. He joins us also in our Lagos studio. Lady and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the program.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you.
So let's start by asking the basic. What is the essence and the meaning of the World Social Work Day? I'll start with you, Ms. Alile.
Thank you for having us. I mean, Social Work Day is really a day to commemorate the work that has been done in the communities. And you're talking about social workers, non-profit workers as well, and the development sector. But it's also a day where we begin to reiterate that the sector is actually needed. And because once you have the public sector, the private sector, the next sector is the social sector. And we cannot leave them as is, because a lot of work is being done in the communities. And we are talking about what's happening in Nigeria and Africa. We see a lot of gaps. And the social sector has been the person and the industry that has covered those gaps for the government over the years. And we must do things to collaborate and work with them to make sure that these things happen.
So what is the work of the social worker?
A social worker is really a person that comes into a community to see what the issues are and says to themselves, what can we do and how can we do it better? But they don't never work alone. There are people that work with the government, because if you're looking at health now and you go to a community, maybe for my state, Edo State, and you're seeing, okay, what is the issues that they are dealing with there? The person is looking based on what the community actually needs. Because, with private sector, they are thinking about profits. Government is thinking about the mandate that has been given to them. But the social person is thinking about the community and the people that live in that community, and that's what their work is. So they are very driven by the vision, and they work with the soul and very compassionate about what is going on in the sector and in the community. And then they say, okay, how can we come up with social and solution-based solutions?
Now, Nigeria is a huge country with a population of more than 200 million. And for some communities, they might have felt the impact of social workers who come and provide intervention either in the area of SGBV or in the area of, economic intervention to help certain people. But for some Nigerians who are saying, look, I've never had that experience in my community. Mr. Ajayi, how would you describe the impact of the social sector in Nigerian communities?
Thank you for that question. Now, the impact is beyond measure. It may seem little, especially if you have not been directly impacted, but it's beyond measure, because the work that the social workers or the social sector embarks upon is altruistic. Right? People have the choice of working in the private sector or in the public sector, but they choose to work in the social sector because they have identified gaps in the society, and they are taking steps, investing their time, their resources, and other things that they have to deal with those issues. So if you look at the healthcare sector, for instance, there are lots of gaps all over the place. And then you see, if you go to certain communities, you find social workers or non-profit organizations who are bridging the gap, ensuring that people get the service that they deserve, at an affordable rate. And in many cases, thanks to partners and sponsors, they offer these services at no cost to the people. And these are people that the government should cater for in terms of healthcare delivery, or in terms of delivery of education and the likes of it. So they step in the gap and they do this. And overall, what you find is that the social sector provides an opportunity that enables people's quality of lives to improve, their standard of living to improve. And by doing that, you're reducing crime, you're inspiring hope, you're giving people a belief that something better is on the horizon, and therefore you're creating a better and more sustainable society.
I'm looking at the different types of social workers, do a quick search on it so that I will know exactly where you fall in and how you are intervening, from clinical, child and families, school, social work, healthcare, mental health, and all of geriatrics and all of that. So let's start with what you do at your organization. Let me start with you, since we start left off with you. So talk about your interventions. So
at Enactus, we intervene in the space of youth development. Now, we believe very strongly that the youth of a nation is the lifeline of the nation. And so we must, as a people, make deliberate efforts to invest in their future today. Otherwise, there's no future for the nation, as it were. One of the gaps we have found is leadership amongst, look around you, whether in the political space, or even in corporate sector, you find people in leadership positions who have no business being in leadership positions simply because they do not understand the concept of leadership, first of all, and then have the courage to do the right things while in office. And so the time to begin to build leadership skills amongst young people is today, not tomorrow. Again, if you look at the economy, you find that in terms of entrepreneurship, entrepreneurs drive the economy. But there aren't so many deliberate attempts by the government to support entrepreneurs or to prepare young people to become successful entrepreneurs in the future. Of course, there are one or two activities going on here and there. But at Enactus, we look at some of these issues and we begin to engage with young people right where they are still in the university to put them through a process that helps them to develop that entrepreneurial mindset, to be able to build enterprises, or to be able to apply those skills that they have acquired as in paid employment to become change makers, even if they are employed at the end of the day. And the way we operate with them is also to challenge them to look around their communities, identify problems, social problems, economic or environmental problems, and then create a solution to solve those problems and apply business principles to ensure that they are sustainable. So that process helps them to build those leadership skills, because leadership is really about service. We can give it any other definition, but it's really about service. And so when young people in the universities are engaged in community service, solving problems to liberate people from the hardship that they are encountering, or just being in those activities helps them to understand the whole concept of leadership, builds their leadership abilities, their teamwork ability, the ability to take initiative, the ability to work with other people and collaborate, to remain results-oriented, So that whole gamut of activities that we do help to build them in leadership and in entrepreneurship.
So if I come to you as well, I don't know which area of specialization, talked about entrepreneurship and leadership, I don't know what that's the area, but one of the things that comes to mind as well in you responding, because I know a social worker has a role to play. I'm sure you heard what happened in Edo State. Yeah. With the bullying. I heard the kids have now been expelled. Yes. I understand their parents will be heading to court and all of that. From the social worker point of view, what will be your characterization of what you saw? What will be the kind of intervention to reposition those children, both the bully and the one that is being bullied? Is it the bullier? What's the right word? the people carry out the bullying and the person who is at the receiving end, in addition to your own expertise. Okay.
If I'm a social worker, I will not answer that question publicly, because you're talking about children here. So right or wrong, you tend not to put this where we now deal with the root cause, not the person or the bully and the bullied, as we're calling it, because we're also very careful, because a lot of times in Nigeria we tend to just say somebody has done wrong, forgetting that they're below a certain age. No matter what they've done, you have to be very careful with those things. So from my own point of view, we are an organization that we work with someone like an Enactus So Aspire Coronation Trust Foundation is a grant-making and capacity development organization. So we have an organization in Edo State, for example, since you use that as an example, that wants to work in the schools, and they want us to come and work with them. So we will partner with them, we will fund them, so they can do the programs in this school. So if we now know that there's an issue in this school that we're talking about, we'll go into that school and say, okay, what kind of project is necessary because we have a situation here and we want to deal with the root cause of the situation. And if we find that this organization is good for this particular problem, what we will do as an organization is to fund them, to go there, to look at what the issues are, come up with a solution that is beneficial to the school and even the community they're in. Also to even begin to prepare other people outside, other schools, to say, okay, this is what has happened. There must be a problem here. How do we solve that problem? And they will build and give capacity to the organization to be able to do that, not only in Edo State, but across Nigeria as well. Because when we look at a problem like this, and it's only one solution that comes to our mind, we're looking at just one school. But if you go across a lot of schools, and we've done a lot of work in all the states in Nigeria, so we deal with education, leadership, enterprise, and such like, we will see that we have a lot of root cause issues that we are dealing with. And so we're very, very concerned about who can we work with. I'm sorry to cut you off. Yeah, no problem.
When you say root cause, you've mentioned it a couple of times. Yeah. Maybe you expatiate in London.
So what you saw were two kids fighting and one bullying the other or something like that happening. And there's always something at the other end. It's never about just that particular fight. It might be the environment. Something has happened. What gives somebody the right and feel that they are bold enough to continue something continuously for a certain number, not 2 seconds, not 1 minute, not 2 minutes, not 3 minutes. There's a root cause. And for us, when we go into any situation, we don't go there and say, okay, because we saw something on TV, we want to solve something. We're asking questions. What's happening in the school? What's the disciplinary process? What is wrong? Why are the kids in this place feeling that this is the only solution they have to the problem? But because I don't know the back end, I won't give you a complete solution. But that's the way we work, because we find out that everything has a root cause. And so we as people sitting on the outside, we just come up with a solution. But when you go into a community, that might not be even the issue that you're dealing with. And we've seen it over and over again, even with health problems. You go into a community that has an issue with malaria. You say, well, the best thing to do is to bring out nets and put on all the, let's buy 10,000 nets and give all the families. You go there in another 2 years, and malaria numbers have jumped up. And you're wondering what's going on. And this is a real life example I'm giving you. Find out that that community, they bury their people with whites. So they're not going to put a net over their head. So you have to ask, what are the issues? How do we solve them? And what is the community about? And that's what a social worker does. He doesn't come up and just bring about a solution that he feels is necessary. He brings about a solution that solves the root problem, but also helps us that in the long term, we don't go back to this situation again.
Mr. Ajayi, I know that you're itching to speak on this. You work with young people. Yes, you are invested in at least 20 states across the country, several institutions, and this is a case that is disturbing to a lot of people. But you approach young people in a different, from a different perspective, empower them and all of that. So is this a lack of empowering or empowering in the wrong way? Because obviously there's some power being shown here.
So maybe we can take it up from empowering in the wrong way, because when we do not intentionally empower, we are actually, empowering. Okay, and so for young people of that age, one of the root causes may be something they have seen at home, they've experienced at home, right? And so there is no real mentoring, and guidance. There is no real role model at home. And so they grow up with certain traits and characteristics. And that is just a reflection of either the home or the society they belong to. And by the time they get to school, and you ask the questions, the first thing that comes to mind when something like that happens is, what are the policies, the laid down policies of the school concerning issues like bullying? Have these policies been broken down enough for the parents to know and for the children themselves to understand, are there safe centers where somebody who feels threatened can go to and complain within the school, or someone who has observed, a measure of bullying being meted out on someone else, does he or she feel safe to go to a teacher or a lecturer, as the case may be, to say, I observe this? Are there mechanisms that allows me to just send in a note anonymously to say, this individual has these traits, I've seen him do this to this person and that person? And if these structures are in place, to what extent does the school management apply them? Do they say, oh, this is the son of the governor, and therefore he can get away with it? Or do they say it does not matter whose ox is God, if you violate any of these rules, these are the laid down proceedings that we must mete out on you? So if people get away with things, either because the management is negligent or the management did not even realize that anything is going on, then they will get emboldened. And what you saw on TV, Jeffrey, that is not the first time. That is a reflection of something that has been happening at different levels and eventually blew up like that. So it is lack of, or it is empowerment, but just in the wrong way. Because when you do not intentionally empower in a particular pathway, then you are actually empowering in another pathway by not doing anything about it.
And all these things are connected.
Yeah.
Today we're celebrating social work and we're speaking to this issue. But for a lot of people listening to us, I can almost be sure that this is the first time in a long time they're hearing about social work. Almost like social workers are undercovers. You don't see them in a manner of speaking. But I remember as far back as 20 plus years ago, I met social workers, brilliant social workers in University College Hospital, Ibadan. But a lot of them are out of the country now because it looks like it's more lucrative there. And that's where this partnership comes in. You're a grant-making organization. You do the work on the field. But a lot of people say, social work, no, there is tech bro that I want to be. There are a lot of other things. I'll not be a social worker. So I want us to establish first the benefit of partnership and why we must find a way to populate social work in Nigeria, funding, and of course getting the manpower as well.
I mean, there's no work that can be done alone, especially in this time. And the numbers we're seeing is humongous. I mean, the issues, the gaps that we're seeing over and over again, it's not getting any better. And that's where partnerships come into play. The only way we work is through partnerships. We can implement ourselves, but you realize that you can't go far doing that. And if you want to work we work in 15 African countries. I mean, how do we do that? Going to all the countries that we're working with. And when you also want to see a solution that is long-standing, not short-term, that's where the partnership comes. We've been partnering now. This is our seventh year together, doing this across Nigeria, and we know that this works. The thing you said about having lack of social workers is true, because it requires a kind of temperament. Social workers or someone that works in the non-profit sector must have a temperament in their minds. They must realize that everything is based on how you feel in terms of what is important for a community. It's not about how you feel, but what is important for the community and people that you're working with. And it's not about money, because whatever money you make, you take it. There's no profit that is being made. But the work is essential, because without the social workers and non-profit sector, there's no community that can survive. And that's why you said most people are moving out of the country. We just need to be able to, one of the things I always tell people, that we can't go past an industry. We have to build the industry. I've been in this industry for over 20-something years. I've done all my education here. I've done it to the highest level. And there's so much to do. And we must just understand that it's essential. We must understand that there's a gap that needs to be filled, and we must realize that a lot of people are working in the community, and they've been doing it for 50 odd years, and they're doing an exceptional work. But how do we as individuals or private institutions or even government come into play to make sure that there's a plug for them, that they can get the funding that is required, that the organization can be built to a certain extent that is sustainable, past the founder and the leader that is there right now. So those are the things that we are thinking about and saying, what can we do and how can we do things better?
Yeah.
We've talked about the Edo situation, which points to something significant that is happening in society. Home dysfunctionality, possibly. There could be other reasons, but talk to us broadly now about the work that you've done in Nigerian communities and help us understand what are the leading societal problems that you have been able to address. And then I'm going to come to you to talk to us about what informs your decision to fund which particular problem that you identify in societies. But let's start with you.
Yeah, so I'll just quickly drive to one of the examples that comes to mind. I mean, we've done this for 7 years. A few years ago, one of our teams in Ekiti State University, just a few years ago, not 50 years ago, not 100 years ago, discovered a community in that state where female genital mutilation was still actively practiced in Nigeria. Not only was it being actively practiced, the gatekeepers and the community people believed it was okay. Why? Because it's a cultural thing that was passed down from generation to generation. Now, this kind of partnership, this particular partnership, we call it the ACT Foundation Leadership Challenge. What we do with it is to inspire our students to identify such bad cultural practices that have been normalized or in the process of being normalized in our communities, identify them and make an attempt to solve them. So once they identify that particular issue, students, undergraduate students in that university, organized themselves and went into the community, engaged the gatekeepers, community leaders, traditional leaders, the women leaders in the community, and began to educate them. It took a while, but the practice began to go down the hill, simply because some students, some obscure students, stepped into the situation and said, this is a problem, and these are the reasons why it is a problem. It was a community-wide sensitization program, having meetings with in front of the chiefs or the community leaders' house and bringing all these leaders and everyone else, bringing the women to get involved. And the women, the ones that, interestingly, it is the women who facilitate those kind of activities in those communities. And so they had to begin to change their mindset, and that's just an example of the kind of impact such partnerships. Now, Arts Foundation couldn't have gone into that community, right? Enactus is headquartered in Lagos, but this intervention was carried out in Ekiti State. I'm the leader of Enactus in Nigeria, but I knew nothing about that situation. It was the people at the grassroots that said there's a problem, but they could only have come about that because they were inspired to do that, and that's because there was some measure of funding from the sponsor.
All right, so let's go to the sponsor now. What informs your decision to fund which particular problem?
For us, it's really what the thematic issues are and what gaps we see. We work under some pillars, which is, as I mentioned, health, enterprise, leadership, and the environment. You can't do everything. You can't be all things to all men. And when we started out, one of the things we kept on saying is that how do we do it? How do we reach everywhere? And it's really through collaborations, and partnerships do work. It's finding the right organizations that you can work with, not only finding them, making sure that they know what they're doing. For us, and I keep on going back to the communities and the root cause of the problems, because we are very long-term thinking. Sustainability is key to us, and we look for partners that are already working in those states that understand the communities. You can't go there and come up with a solution that you think is good in Lagos State. Every state in Nigeria is different. Even in the one state, there's so many different communities, and they must understand that, and they must bring people in. You can't go there and do it by yourself. You have to involve all the stakeholders, and once you understand that, then it's easy for us, because for us also is the measurement of the programs. We want to be able to say after 10 years, when he's talking about the numbers have reduced, those are the things that are important to us. Impact is important to us. So when we see an organization that can fulfill this, fill the gaps, and be impactful, and we can measure what we've done and see that the community, even if we walk away, the community takes over the problem, then we feel a bit comfortable to work with you.
It's quite... Thank you for your service, the both of you. But in closing, while these governors are busy promising numbers they will not be able to give the president, because I've read all of them, the ones that are saying they will give president 2 million votes. No governor, let me not go there. Anyway, except maybe 2 or 3. But where I'm going to with this is politicians have a habit. I don't know whether we caused that habit for them, because sometimes when we blame them, we're also a reflection of these people. We didn't go to import them. They're interested in big projects that you can easily see. The rural areas and the hinterlands are suffering. You talked about one of the pillars is environment. If people that are interested in this altruistic gesture to be able to reposition environment, maybe water and all of that, how do they get across to you? And have you done anything in that direction that you can maybe relate to us in maybe 30 seconds?
Oh gosh, we've done it. We've done it. We work in all the states in Nigeria. We've done things with water in a lot of the states as well. I mean, people can reach us at Foundation if you go online. I mean, you can see us on all the platforms. But you see, I'm saying this directly to every one of us. I mean, when you're looking at big projects, you want big, but we can start as small as possible. And even if you can't do this on your own, there are other organizations like mine that are doing this thing that have been credited to do the work. That's another thing, the credibility of the organization. I mean, we are audited across, I mean, we're one of the big fours. We understand the game. We've done it over the years. We understand the essence of why we're doing it, because we cannot wait for the international organizations to come and solve our problems. We're an indigenous organization. We started in Nigeria and we work in Africa, and that's the way we see it. Anyone that wants to come and join us, we're very available. But we've worked with 107 organizations now, and this is in 15 African countries, and we're proud of the work we are doing. But we're not the only ones. There's so many organizations like Enactus out there doing work in the community that none of these people talk about, but they are there, and we want them to continue to be in the communities and to continue to grow.
And it's reassuring that besides what government can do, there are individuals and bodies who have taken it upon themselves to solve some of communities' problems. And I want to double down on Jeffrey's gratitude. Thank you for your work. Ms. Osayi Alile is the Chief Executive Officer of the Aspire Coronation Trust ACT Foundation, a prominent leader in the African social sector. And of course, not forgetting the social worker himself, a he for she. I don't know, I don't have the evidence, but from what he has said, I'm sure he's a he for she. Mr. Michael Ajayi is the country director of Enactus Nigeria. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Well, there you have it. That's where we draw the curtains on the show today. Hope we've been able to influence you to look into the line of social work. It's good to make the money, but you must make the impact as well. So from here, we say thank you. I'm Kayode Okikere.
Sunrise Daily is up next, so stay with Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka.
Do the best you can and support community. Thank you for watching. I'm Jeffrey Uzama.